Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now we are in the 11th chapter or the 11th canto here, where Krishna is just finishing off a discussion of bhakti, presenting bhakti, and then Uddhava is going to make some questions which is going to make Krishna come back to the topic, and then eventually, I'm not sure, I don't think we're going to reach it in this class, but give us the full qualities of a pure devotee. So great topics, the highest level of yogic practice. And if you want to watch all the previous Uddhava-gita classes, make sure you become a member of this channel, and the instructions are here in the description of the video. So here we go. We are in the 11th canto, 11th chapter, verse 25. So Krishna now says, "One who has attained pure devotional service by association with my devotees always engages in worshipping me. Thus he very easily goes to my abode, which is revealed by my pure devotees." So here Krishna brings the focus to the bhaktas, to the practicing devotees, to the devotees, not just himself. He was talking about himself, but now he brings in his devotees. And why does he do that? It's, kind of obvious. And you wouldn't know about God if it weren't for God's devotees. You wouldn't hear about God if it weren't for God's devotees. We are here now. I'm getting this information because of devotees of Krishna, and you're getting this information from me. I'm a devotee of Krishna. So it's all happening through the association, the contact with SANGA of those who are already in contact with Krishna. So that's the only way this information, Krishna is not going to show up in people's lives because he respects their desire to maintain a distance. So it's the devotees who are just bumbling about anyway. We're here, incarnated anyway, so we're going about our lives here anyway. And then you can run into these people who are also here with you. So here I am, incarnated, and I have a desire to do videos and explain things. So now I'm doing this, and you have access to this information. So it's because of this dynamic of having incarnated devotees that we are able to then have a chance to receive this knowledge, and then through this knowledge, through the Sangha, association with these devotees, get to Krishna ourselves, and then hopefully pay it forward and do the same thing, in your little zone of influence in your life, whatever it is. It might be a huge zone of influence, might be a tiny one, but whatever you're doing with your life, then maybe people will now be associating with you. You're a devotee of Krishna, so now people associate with you, and they have a chance. Not that everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, this is great. No, most people don't care. That's all right. But maybe then somebody through you will start their awakening and have contact with Krishna. And then because of that, he very easily goes to my abode, which is because it's been revealed already. It's very easy. Actually, bhakti yoga is very easy. It's the highest, but it's very easy. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Shushukam Kartam, it's very happily practiced. Very easy practice. It's not difficult to follow Bhagavad-gita, Uddhava-gita. It's most pleasurable. Very easy. So once people understand what it is properly, they have a chance to, then they very easily attain God. So this is the great mercy of the devotees, and that's why, devotees are glorified by Krishna for this obvious fact, because obviously Krishna couldn't, what's he going to do? He can't keep popping up, in front of everyone. That would be weird. That would break the whole spell of Maya. Can't do that. So it has to be through the devotees. So now he's glorifying that. Purport. In the previous verses, Lord Krishna has emphasized the value of surrendering to him in loving service. One may ask how such surrender or devotion is actually achieved. The Lord gives the answer in this verse. One must live in a society of devotees. One must be in touch, in association with some devotees. And these days, we have this, the internet, technology. Now this is association. Before you'd have to actually physically meet a person, and if you want to learn from them, you'd have to go to classes and, live in an ashram. That's what they're talking about here in the purport, like actually going to an ashram and living there to be able to get. But now you have all this, people are with you. You can choose who to hang out with through your phone, tablet, computer, and then you have the access to everything. You direct access to a spiritual master, asking all your questions personally and directly. Much better, actually, than the old style. Because in the old style, it's nice when you meet devotees of Krishna, but as, the scriptures speak and you can verify yourself, there are, of course, different levels of devotees, and there's different levels of people in terms of intelligence, of morality. So people vary, right? So, sometimes you get a person, so yeah, they're a devotee. Okay, yeah, but they might be a devotee who is a predator, a sexual predator. Then you have all these, these sexual offenses happening because it just, he's a devotee, but he's a predator as well. So then it's not so nice that you're getting information of God from a person who, has this baggage of being a sexual predator. It's horrible. Or you get a person who just isn't very intelligent, just has low IQ, so they don't explain things very well. Or you have a person whose tendency is towards fanaticism, just because of their, mode mixture. So they're more rajas and more tamas, so they can tend to be more fanatical, maybe more violent. So then you learn about God through a person who's more violent and fanatical. So then, that's also not very nice. And so on. So people are confused, or low IQ, or fanatical, or sexual predators, whatever, or just impatient. So, there's always this problem. But with technology now, you can really go and you pick, that person has all the good qualities, is not going to abuse me, rob me, manipulate me, and, can explain things carefully and correctly. And so you can get all the benefits and just have direct access to that information, and not have to depend on getting information from someone who's getting information from somebody else. And that's what would happen in the past. Typically you'd have a guru, and then this guru would have some disciples, and these disciples would learn from these other disciples, who learn from these other, and then you're just talking to the person here who's 10 times removed, and so, it's not so efficient. By the time it gets to this person, it gets to you, this knowledge has been a little twisted, a little misunderstood and misapplied, and then the end result, sometimes is not so great, is a little distorted. And especially when you have these religious institutions, and then it carries on generation after. So you had this original pure seed, but then what do you have now? It's like with Jesus, okay, Jesus was one thing, but who's representing Jesus? What are they like? So then you have a million different ideas, a million different theologies, a million different conceptions, and then it's what are you really getting here? I mean, if you wanted to get it pure, that's pretty far. So these days you can go directly to the source. At least I'm very careful with that. I don't have representatives. I make sure people no, you just come straight to me, straight directly to me. You just get it directly from the horse's mouth, as it were, so that there won't be any distortion. So that's how it works. So one must have association with devotees, and thus one will automatically be engaged in this process. The pure devotees can reveal the spiritual world by their transcendental sound vibration, making it possible for even a neophyte devotee to experience the Lord's abode. Being thus enlivened, the neophyte makes further progress and gradually becomes qualified to personally serve the personality of Godhead in the spiritual world. By constantly associating with devotees and learning from them about devotional science, one quickly achieves a deep attachment for the Lord and the Lord's service, and such attachment gradually matures into pure love of Godhead. Foolish persons say that various mantras composed of names of God, as well as all other mantras, are merely material creations with no special value, and therefore any so-called mantra or mystical process will ultimately produce the same result. To refuse such superficial thinking, the Lord here describes the science of going back home, back to Godhead. One should not accept the bad association of impersonalists who state that the holy name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord are Maya, or illusion. Maya is actually an insignificant potency of the Almighty personality of Godhead. And if one ignorantly tries to elevate illusion above the absolute truth, one will never experience love of Godhead and will be cast into deep forgetfulness of the Lord. One should not associate with those who are envious of the fortunate devotees who are going back to Godhead. Such envious persons deride the abode of the Lord, which is revealed by the pure devotees to those who have faith in the Lord's message. Envious persons create disturbances among the people in general, who should take shelter of the faithful devotees of the Lord. Unless people hear from pure devotees, it is impossible for them to understand that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead eternally existing in His own abode, which is self-luminous, full of bliss and knowledge. In this verse, the importance of SANGA, association, is clearly explained. Okay, verses 26 and 27. Now, so Krishna, wraps that spiel up. He spoke about himself, spoke about the importance. He went all the way from explaining, the importance of understanding your situation, of material world, going beyond material existence, all the way to explaining about himself, and then finished up by saying the importance of the devotees, the bhaktas. So he finished his spiel, and now Uddhava has more questions. He wants to get some more information out of Lord Krishna. So Sri Uddhava now has questions. Sri Uddhava said, "My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, what type of person do you consider to be a true devotee? And what type of devotional service is approved by great devotees as worthy of being offered to your Lordship? My dear ruler of the universal controllers, O Lord of Vaikuntha and Almighty God of the universe, I am your devotee, and because I love you, I have no other shelter than you. Therefore, please explain this to me." Again, whenever these great devotees, these perfect, they're really avatars, they're associates, eternal associates of the Lord. Whenever these eternal associates have these questions, they're very beautiful, and the questions themselves contain so many instructions for us, so much knowledge we can get out of just the question. Never mind the answer, the question itself is already packed with great stuff. So, first thing, Uddhava wants to know, because Krishna just mentioned my devotees, so he says, okay, so who's your devotee? How, qualify that, who is your devotee? So that's a good question. And what should we do? What kind of, if you're talking about devotional service, what should we offer? What should we do for you? What's the best thing to offer you? And then he calls him, the Lord of the universal controllers, Lord of Vaikuntha, which is the spiritual realm, the realm of God, and Almighty God of the universe. All these beautiful, glorious terms for God. I am your devotee. He says, look, I am your devotee. And this is great. Look, he says like this. And because, I love this, because I am your devotee, and because I love you, I have no other shelter than you. That's a great, beautiful line, isn't it? Because I love you, I have no other shelter than you. Very, very sweet. Very nice. Therefore, please explain this to me. Okay, so here we go. Purport. In the previous verse, it was stated that one can achieve the Lord's supreme abode by associating with devotees. Therefore, Uddhava naturally inquires about the symptoms of a distinguished devotee whose association can promote one to the kingdom of God. Srila Jiva Goswami notes that the personality of Godhead knows who is actually a sincere devotee because the Lord is always attached to his loving servitors. Similarly, pure devotees can expertly explain the proper methods of devotional service to Lord Krishna because they are already absorbed in love of Krishna. Uddhava herein requests Lord Krishna to describe the qualities of a devotee and asks that the Lord to explain the devotional service that the devotees themselves approve as worthy to be offered to the Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that the word Purushadhyaksha indicates that Lord Krishna is the supreme ruler of the universal controllers headed by Mahavishnu. Purusha Dhyaksha. And thus the Lord possesses infinite sovereignty. The term Loka Dhyaksha indicates that Lord Krishna is the ultimate supervising authority of all the Vaikuntha planets. And therefore, the Lord is unlimitedly glorious and perfect. Uddhava further addresses Lord Krishna as Jagat Prabhu, because master of the universe. Because even in the illusory material world, the Lord exhibits his unlimited mercy by personally incarnating to uplift the conditioned souls. The word pranataya, your surrendered devotee, indicates that Uddhava is not proud like ordinary fools who do not enjoy bowing down to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Uddhava mentions that he is anuraktaya, or completely bound in love to Lord Krishna. Because unlike other devotees such as Arjuna, who sometimes worship demigods in order to comply with social customs or to show respect for their positions in the schemes of planetary management, Uddhava never worshipped any demigods. Therefore, Uddhava is prapanaya, or completely surrendered to Lord Krishna, having no other shelter. Okay, verse 28. My dear Lord, as the absolute truth, you are transcendental to material nature. And like the sky, you are never entangled in any way. Still, being controlled by your devotees' love, you accept many different forms, incarnating according to your devotees' desires. And so this can be a long purport because the masters want to make sure you don't get confused with this term of sky. So, but the idea is the sky just doesn't get entangled, right? Remember, the sky is a weird translation for the concept of ether. You know, this thing that's between other things. You know, like between me and the camera. It's like, oh, there's, you know, oxygen and nitrogen. No, but it's like just in general, like, oh, what if you just removed everything and there was a vacuum? Still the same thing. So sky is like just the spaces in between, as it were. So just like, you know, the spaces in between don't get entangled by definition, so the God, if Krishna never gets entangled. It's not like us, we got entangled. So we have our karma, we got all entangled. It's like, oh, I have to take birth. So I'm entangled, but not Krishna. But he comes anyway, and he comes in his transcendental form. Not because he has to, not because he's got karma, he's entangled in material nature, attached in any way. He comes only out of love, out of mercy. You know, specifically in Bhagavad-gita, he says, I come for three purposes. One, to reestablish Dharma in not only just the regular dharmas, good behavior, but spiritual dharma as well, sanatana dharma, yoga. I come to help out my devotees, and I come to, you know, take care of the bad elements who are distorting the purpose, who are robbing, you know, the universe of its ultimate purpose. Just a great disbalance, then I have to come and adjust it. If the demigods can't handle it, if material laws of nature can't, then I have to come to realign things. Otherwise, it's spoiled. So for these three reasons, God comes down. But anyway, here's the purport so you can understand more. The pure devotees of the Lord propagate devotional service all over the world. And therefore, although separate from the personal form of the Lord, they are considered to be manifestations of God's mercy and potency. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 7:11, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tada Pravartana. The Lord is like the sky, Vyoma, because although expanded everywhere, He is not entangled in anything. He is Prakriti Para, or completely transcendental. Prakriti, material nature, Para, beyond. So He's beyond Prakriti, or completely transcendental to material nature. The Lord is fully self-satisfied and is therefore indifferent to the affairs of the material world. Still, because of His causeless mercy, the Lord desires to expand pure devotional service, and for this reason He incarnates within the material world to uplift the fallen, conditioned souls. The Lord descends in selected spiritual bodies to please His loving devotees. Sometimes He appears in His original form as Krishna, and even Krishna Himself appears in different forms to special devotees so that they may fully develop their loving sentiments for Him. Srila Jiva Goswami gives several examples of the Lord's special mercy upon His devotees. Lord Krishna personally went to the home of Jambavan and there displayed a form with slightly angry glances. In that form, the Lord enjoyed a fight with His devotee. The Lord displayed His form as Dattatreya to Atri Muni and similarly bestowed special mercy upon Lord Brahma, the demigods, Akrura, and innumerable other devotees. And in Vrindavan, the Lord displayed His most beautiful form as Govinda for the fortunate inhabitants. Srila Madhvacharya has quoted from the Prakasha Samhita as follows. The Lord accepts different spiritual bodies according to the desire of His devotees. For example, the Lord agreed to become the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Thus, although Lord Krishna has an eternal, blissful, spiritual form, He appears to enter within the body of His devotee who becomes His mother. Although we speak of the Lord's taking on a body, the Lord does not change His form as do conditioned souls, who must change their material bodies. The Lord appears in His own eternally unchangeable forms. Lord Hari appears in the forms that are specially desired by His loving devotees and never in other forms. However, if one thinks that the Lord, in the manner of an ordinary person taking birth, becomes the physical son of Vasudeva or other devotees, then one is victimized by illusion. The Lord merely expands His spiritual potency, causing His pure devotees to think, Krishna is now my son. One should understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead never accepts or rejects a material body, nor does He ever give up His eternal spiritual forms. Rather, the Lord eternally manifests His blissful bodies according to the loving sentiments of His eternal pure devotees. It's a fascinating topic. It's a topic of Krishna's multiple Bhagavan forms, which we spoke about in the last class. Fascinating, important topic, where you understand that this one Lord can manifest entirely in different forms, totally transcendental, non-material, not a tinge of material energy to them. There's not like a little red blood cell, little cells, matter, oxygen. No, nothing like that. Completely made of transcendental energy, Brahman. So all these different bodies with different abodes, with different female expansions, with different associates, with all this whole thing, so that different devotees can have this perfect loving relationship with that form that they are attracted to. Variety, this vast, inconceivably vast creation of God with absolutely an infinite number of souls. And God couldn't just be one thing. Everybody is like, no, this is vast. So these different forms with different abodes, the multiple Bhagavan forms, the polyform monotheism. It's a beautiful, great, perfect explanation where you can understand the form of God, and yet God is still unlimited. Because people throughout history are like, if he has form, he's limited. So he must not have form. God must be like formless. Because if he had form, he'd be limited. And it's like they're like trying to figure this out. Form, limited, unlimited. But no, this is the solution. The solution is here in the Vedas. Unlimited forms of the one God. So it's not multiple gods, it's not pantheism, it's just one God, but he manifests entirely and he's completely present in every one of them. He's God, infinite. Beautiful, beautiful explanation. Srila Jiva Goswami mentions that the word Vyoma also indicates the Lord's name of Paravyoma, which means the Lord of the spiritual sky. One should not misinterpret this verse to mean that Lord Krishna is impersonal, like the material sky, or that the form of Krishna is merely another selected incarnation equal to any other. Such casual or whimsical speculations cannot be accepted as actual spiritual knowledge. Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, and the Lord has explained elaborately in Bhagavad-gita that he is the original source of everything. Therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord are eternally engaged in full knowledge and bliss, in loving service to the Lord's original form as Krishna. The whole purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is to arouse our love for Lord Krishna. And one should not foolishly misunderstand this great purpose. This is a great line. This is a great line. The whole purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, we're just doing the Uddhava-gita, which is a part of one canto, of the 12 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Just one part. 14,000 verses, I think 14,200 verses, depends how you count, of the Bhagavatam. And this is just, the whole Uddhava-gita, this whole course, so many classes. This is our 42nd class. And we're just starting. We're just starting. This is just the 4th chapter of 21 chapters. Imagine. But the whole Bhagavatam, the purpose is to arouse our love for Lord Krishna. The ultimate form of God. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. There are many forms. Krishna did many forms. But if you have the special mercy of being in touch with a Krishna Bhakta, then you must take full advantage of this purpose, of this meeting, to full advantage to then develop your love for Krishna as well, because it is the ultimate form of God. The sweetest, the most intense, and Lord's life in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, the ultimate abode of God, Krishna's, God's secret garden. So, take full advantage of this situation. Okay, so let's stop here, and the next class, don't miss the next class, because it's going to be Krishna and Sri Uddhava with an intense description of wonderful qualities of a pure devotee. So have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.